Good, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day to you. It's been a very good weekend. We're doing our nighttime devotion from Christ Triumphant. The title today, First Transgression, Inexcusable. Isaiah 45:12. I made the earth and created humankind upon it. It was my hands that stretched out the heavens, and I commanded all their host. Adam and Eve received knowledge through direct communion with God, and they learned of him through his works. All created things in their original perfection were an expression of the thought of God. To Adam and Eve, nature was teeming with divine wisdom. But by transgression, the human family was cut off from learning of God through direct communion and, to a great degree, through his works. Upon every page of the great volume of his created works may still be traced his handwriting. Nature still speaks of her creator, yet these revelations are partial and imperfect. And in our fallen state, with weakened powers and restricted vision, we're incapable of interpreting aright. We need the fuller revelation of himself that God has given in his written word. All heaven took a deep and joyful interest in the creation of the world and of Adam and Eve. Human beings were a distinct order. They were made in the image of God, and it was a creator's design that they should populate the earth. They were to live in close communion with heaven, receiving and assimilating power from the great source of power. That great source of power, upheld by God, they were to live sinless lives. Satan determined to defeat God's plan. We need not try to understand the motives that prompted the being next to Christ in the heavenly courts to bring envy and jealousy into the ranks of the angels. To many, he communicated his disaffection, and there was a war in heaven, which ended in the expulsion of Satan and his sympathizers. We need not puzzle our minds for a reason that Satan acted as he did. Could a reason be found? There would be excuse for sin. But there is no excuse. There is no reason human beings should travel over the same ground that Satan traveled. After Satan was thrust from heaven, he determined to set up his kingdom here on earth. Through him, sin entered the world, and death by sin. By listening to his misrepresentation of God, Adam fell from his high estate, and the floodgates of woe were opened upon our world. There's no excuse for Adam's transgression. All his wants were generously supplied. He had need of nothing more. Only one prohibition was laid upon him. This prohibition Satan used as a means of insinuating suggestions of evil. First transgression, inexcusable. Now, obviously, when you first hear that, you probably assume that's going to be Adam and Eve, but it isn't. It's actually talking about when Lucifer transgressed in heaven and was cast out. That was the first transgression. Heaven was made perfect. Earth was made perfect. Adam and Eve were made perfect. The world, the animals, the seas, and all that is in them was made perfect. But Lucifer and his angels were cast out of heaven, down to earth. And because of that only one prohibition of all the trees you may eat of, except that one in the middle, that one there. And Satan used that to put doubt in their minds. God told us we cannot eat of that, otherwise we shall surely die. You shall not surely die, but you will be as gods. You will see things as gods. How often do we get promised better things, better life? We get used. We get let down. Most people do a lot of what they do for their own financial or possessional gain. Satan didn't actually do that. He didn't do it for his own gain. He did it out of spite. He did it because God was so proud of what he had made and all he had done. Jesus was involved in the process. And Lucifer was jealous. Lucifer was jealous because he wasn't involved in the process. And so he chose to disrupt what God had put in place as perfect. And as he did with the angels in heaven, he chose to put doubt in the minds of those here on earth. And so they ended up being cast out of Eden, just the same as Lucifer was cast out of heaven. There is no excuse for Adam and Eve to transgress, just as there was no excuse for Lucifer to transgress. Everything they had was supplied. All three of them, Lucifer, Adam, Eve, everything they had was supplied. Everything they needed was supplied. God says, if you love me, keep my commandments. And that is his seal, keeping all the 10 commandments. Because it's not just keeping the Sabbath. It's not about just keeping the Sabbath. It's all 10 commandments. Break one, break them all. you're keeping all the 10 commandments, you're keeping the Sabbath, you're not killing, you're not lying, you're not everything else. That is how you will receive the seal of God. And that is also how you will not receive the mark of the beast.